When a man chooses another woman over you, it's easy to feel like you've lost. Your mind starts racing with questions. Was she better than me? Prettier? More exciting? Did I do something wrong? But the truth is, your value is never determined by someone else's choice. A man's decision to walk away does not define you, it defines him. And the way you respond in that moment is what determines whether you truly win or lose. Women are often conditioned to see relationships as competition, as if winning a man's attention is the ultimate prize. But that's the wrong perspective. When a man chooses someone else, it's not a rejection of you, it's a revelation. It's showing you exactly where he stands, what he values, and most importantly, how much he actually deserved you in the first place. If he was able to walk away so easily, then he was never truly yours to begin with. And that is the most powerful realization you can have. The moment you understand that you are not in competition with anyone, you free yourself. You don't need to compare yourself to the other woman, analyze what she has that you don't, or try to prove your worth. Your worth was never in question. If a man fails to see your value, that's his loss, not yours. You were not beaten by another woman. You were redirected away from someone who wasn't meant for you. And here's the real secret. The way you handle this situation determines whether you come out of it stronger or weaker. Weakness is chasing, begging, or trying to prove that you are the better choice. Strength is letting him go without hesitation. Strength is understanding that someone who truly values you wouldn't put you in this situation in the first place. When you hold yourself with dignity and self-respect, you become the one in control, even if it feels like he had the power when he made his decision. Because in reality, the person who can walk away with confidence is the one who wins. When a man expects you to fight for him, to cry, to beg, and you don't, he feels it. He notices your silence, your indifference, and that silence does more damage than any argument ever could. Men expect to be the ones making the choices, but the truth is, you have a choice too. You can choose to see this as a loss, or you can choose to see it as an opportunity. You can choose to break down, or you can choose to build yourself up. You can choose to let his actions define you, or you can choose to rise above them. And here's what happens when you choose yourself, when you don't chase, when you don't fall into the trap of competition. Something shifts. He starts questioning his decision. He starts wondering why you're not reacting the way he expected. And that's when the regret starts to creep in. A man expects that if he chooses someone else, you'll be there, waiting, hoping he comes back. But when you walk away with confidence, when you refuse to play the game, it shakes him. He realizes that maybe, just maybe, he made the wrong choice. And by the time he figures that out, you'll have already moved forward, becoming stronger, more confident, and more untouchable than ever before. This is why self-worth is everything. When you truly know your value, you stop trying to convince people to see it. You stop chasing, you stop competing, and you stop needing external validation. Instead, you embrace the truth that the right person will never put you in a position where you have to fight for them. So let him go. Let him make his choice. And when he does, make your own. Choose yourself. Because in the end, that's the only choice that ever truly matters. When a man chooses another woman, the biggest mistake you can make is believing that you lost. You didn't lose anything. In fact, you won something far greater. You won clarity. You won freedom from someone who didn't truly see your worth. The reality is, a man who can easily replace you was never meant to be yours in the first place. The real power lies in your ability to let him go without a second thought and to focus on what truly matters, yourself. One of the worst things you can do in this situation is try to prove your worth to someone who already made their decision. When you beg, plead, or try to convince him that he made a mistake, you're telling him that he was right to think he had the upper hand. You're handing him control over your emotions, your self-esteem, and your energy. And the truth is, a man who truly deserves you would never put you in a position where you feel the need to compete. The moment you find yourself trying to prove your value is the moment you've already lost yourself. Instead, the real win is in walking away with your dignity intact. You don't need to remind him of your worth. Your absence will do that for you. Silence speaks louder than words, and your ability to move on without hesitation is what will leave the biggest impact. A man expects you to be devastated. He expects you to linger in sadness, to question yourself, and to wait for his return. But when you do the opposite, when you show him that his decision doesn't affect your sense of self, that's when he starts to feel it. This isn't about playing games or seeking revenge. It's about self-respect. A woman who knows her value doesn't chase. She doesn't compete for someone's attention. She doesn't lower herself to prove that she is better than someone else. She simply lets go and moves forward because she knows that the right man would never have to think twice about choosing her. And here's the truth. Time always reveals the real winner. At first, he may feel confident in his decision, thinking that he made the right choice. But as time passes, as he sees that you are thriving without him, as he realizes that your world didn't fall apart in his absence, that's when regret starts to settle in. He begins to wonder, was she really the one I should have left behind? The irony is, the more you focus on yourself, the more magnetic you become. When you invest in your growth, your happiness, and your success, you radiate confidence. And confidence is something no other woman can compete with. When he sees that you didn't crumble, that you didn't wait around hoping for him to change his mind, that's when he starts to feel the weight of his decision. But by then, it won't matter to you anymore. Because when you truly embrace your self-worth, you realize that you never needed him in the first place. You realize that love should never be about convincing someone to stay. It should be about mutual respect, admiration, and an undeniable connection. If he didn't see that before, it's not your job to make him see it now. So let him go. Let him experience whatever it is he thought was better. Let him learn the hard way that not every woman is replaceable. And while he's realizing his mistake, you'll be too busy living your best life to even care. Because in the end, the real prize was never him. It was the strong, confident woman you became by choosing yourself. True strength isn't found in holding on to someone who has already chosen to walk away. It's found in the ability to let them go without hesitation. When a man chooses another woman over you, the biggest mistake you can make is believing that it's a reflection of your worth. It isn't. His choice has nothing to do with you and everything to do with him. A man who truly values you would never put you in a position where you feel second best. The moment he makes his decision, the moment he turns his attention elsewhere, the smartest thing you can do is step back and let him. Because the real power doesn't lie in chasing. It lies in knowing that you don't have to. Many women make the mistake of thinking that they need to fight for a man's attention, that they need to compete with the other woman or prove that they are the better choice. But that's exactly what weakens their position. The more you try to convince someone to stay, the more you reinforce the idea that they were right to believe they had options in the first place. A high-value woman never competes for a man's attention because she knows that the right man wouldn't require her to. She doesn't lower herself to the level of begging, convincing, or proving. She simply walks away with confidence, knowing that if he failed to see her worth, it was his loss, not hers. The moment you stop fighting for someone who wouldn't fight for you is the moment you truly win. Men don't expect you to walk away easily. They expect emotion, they expect reactions, they expect tears. But when you do the unexpected, when you let go with grace and silence, that's when they start to feel it. Your absence speaks volumes in a way that words never could. He may believe, at first, that he made the right choice. He may even feel confident in his decision, but as time passes, as he realizes that you are unbothered, that you aren't waiting around, that you haven't allowed his decision to shake your confidence, that's when regret starts to creep in. The truth is, most men don't fully appreciate what they have until they've lost it. It's only when they experience what's out there, when they compare, when they realize that not every woman will match your energy, your confidence, your presence, that's when they start to question their choices. But by then it's too late. And that's the ultimate win, when you've moved on so completely that his regret doesn't even matter to you anymore. This is why focusing on yourself is the key. When you shift your energy away from wondering why he left, away from trying to figure out what the other woman has that you don't, and instead redirect that energy toward your own growth, you become unstoppable. You become the kind of woman who is so secure in herself that she doesn't even look back. You level up in every way, mentally, emotionally, physically, and in doing so, you naturally attract better into your life. Men are drawn to confidence. They are drawn to women who know their worth and refuse to settle for less. And nothing is more powerful than a woman who understands that she is the prize. When you carry yourself with that energy, it radiates. You don't need to seek revenge. You don't need to make him jealous. You don't need to prove anything. Your success, your happiness, and your ability to thrive without him will speak for itself. So when a man chooses another woman, let him go. Let him believe for a moment that he made the right choice. But know this, time always reveals the truth. And while he's realizing what he lost, you'll be too busy winning to even notice. Because at the end of the day, the real victory is not in proving him wrong. It's in proving to yourself that you never needed him in the first place. When a man chooses another woman, it's easy to fall into the trap of wanting to prove yourself, of wanting to show him that he made a mistake. But the real power is in realizing that you don't have to prove anything to anyone. The moment you shift your mindset from why wasn't I enough to he wasn't enough for me, everything changes. Because the truth is, if he truly valued you, if he truly saw your worth, he would never have put you in a position where you had to question it. A high-value woman doesn't beg, doesn't chase, and doesn't wait around hoping for someone to see her value. She knows her worth, and that alone makes her irreplaceable. Most men don't realize what they had until they lose it. They walk away thinking the grass is greener on the other side, believing that something new or different is automatically better, but what they fail to understand is that true value isn't in the excitement of something new. It's in the depth of what is real. They leave thinking they have control, thinking they have the upper hand, only to realize later that what they walked away from was far more valuable than what they walked into. And by the time they come to that realization, the high-value woman has already moved on. That is the ultimate power, not in making them regret, but in being so unbothered that their regret no longer matters. This is why silence is so powerful. When a man expects a reaction, expects you to fight for him, expects you to compete, and instead you do the opposite, you remain calm, you stay silent, you move forward. It confuses him. He starts to wonder why you aren't affected, why you aren't chasing, why you aren't reacting the way most people would. And that's when doubt starts to creep in. Did he make a mistake? Was she actually the one? The moment a man starts to question his decision is the moment he begins to lose control of it. Because in his mind, he thought he had you figured out. He thought you'd be there, waiting, hurting, reacting. But when you show him that you are stronger than he expected, that's when everything shifts. But here's the key. You don't do this for him. You don't remain silent. You don't move on. You don't focus on yourself to make him regret his choice. You do it for you. Because the real goal isn't to make him suffer, it's to free yourself. To truly move on, not just on the outside, but internally. To get to a place where you aren't pretending to be unbothered. You genuinely are. You build your life in a way that his absence doesn't feel like a loss, but rather a necessary step towards something greater. You create a version of yourself that is so fulfilled, so at peace, so successful, that looking back feels pointless. The moment a man realizes that he can't access you anymore, that you are no longer the woman who would have taken him back, that you are no longer emotionally attached to his choices, that's when he truly feels the weight of what he lost. Because most men operate under the assumption that they can return whenever they choose, that they can walk away, explore their options, and if things don't work out, they can come back. But when you show them that you are not an option, that once they leave, they lose access to you forever, that's when they truly regret. Because real loss isn't in missing someone, it's in knowing that what you lost is never coming back. This is why the best revenge is success. It's not about posting to make him jealous, not about forcing a reaction, not about trying to show him that you've won. The real win is when you stop caring altogether. When your happiness, your progress, and your growth are so authentic that his absence becomes irrelevant. When you don't need closure, when you don't need an apology, when you don't need validation, because you already know your worth. At the end of the day, the strongest thing you can do is let go. Let him believe he won. Let him think he made the right choice. Because life has a way of showing people the truth in time. And by the time he realizes what he lost, you'll be too busy winning to even notice. When a man chooses another woman, it's easy to fall into the trap of self-doubt. questioning what you lacked or what she had that you didn't. But the truth is, love and relationships are not a competition, and the sooner you detach yourself from that mindset, the stronger you become. You must understand that when someone chooses to walk away from you, it's not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of their own priorities, their own mindset, and often their own insecurities. You are not responsible for proving yourself to someone who failed to see your value in the first place. The moment you accept this truth is the moment you take back your power. Letting go is not about losing, it's about winning in a way most people don't understand. When you resist the urge to chase, when you stop trying to prove your worth to someone who failed to appreciate it, you shift the dynamic entirely. You see, most people expect you to be hurt, to break down, to beg for an explanation. They expect their absence to shake you. But the most powerful thing you can do is to remain unmoved, to continue thriving, to build a life so fulfilling that their presence or absence becomes irrelevant. This is how you win. Not by making them regret, not by seeking revenge, but by becoming so focused on yourself that their choices no longer affect you. Men often think they have the luxury of returning whenever they choose. They believe they can walk away, explore other options, and if things don't work out, they can come back. But when you operate as a high-value woman, you make it clear that once they leave, the door closes permanently. This is what truly shakes them. Not anger, not resentment, not words, but silence, indifference, and an unwavering commitment to yourself. When you do this, you are no longer playing the game on their terms. You are setting your own rules. And the first rule is this: you are not an option. It's natural to feel hurt when someone you cared about moves on, but what matters is how you respond to that pain. Do you let it consume you, or do you use it as fuel to become the best version of yourself? The choice is always yours. Instead of wasting energy trying to understand why he chose someone else, shift that energy into elevating your own life. Focus on your growth, your success, your happiness. This is not about pretending to be okay. It's about genuinely becoming okay. It's about reaching a point where you no longer have to fake strength because you've actually built it. People often ask, how do I make him regret leaving? The answer is simple. You stop caring whether he regrets it or not. Because the moment you truly stop caring is the moment you win. Not because he comes back, not because he finally sees your worth, but because his validation no longer defines you. And ironically, that's the exact moment most men realize what they lost. Because when you no longer seek their approval, when you no longer react, when you no longer need them to see your value, that's when they finally do. But by then, it doesn't matter. By then, you've built a life so beautiful, so fulfilling, that looking back feels pointless. You've created a reality where their absence is not a loss, but a blessing. Because the truth is, anyone who can walk away from you was never meant to stay. And anyone who truly sees your value would never put themselves in a position to lose you in the first place. So let them go. Let them think they made the right choice. Let them believe they've moved on to something better, because in time, life will show them the truth. And by the time they realize what they lost, you'll be too far ahead to even notice. When a man chooses another woman over you, it's easy to feel like you've lost something valuable. The mind immediately starts searching for answers, analyzing every little detail, replaying past conversations, wondering where things went wrong. But what if I told you that the real loss isn't yours, it's his? The moment he chose to walk away from you, he unknowingly gave you the greatest opportunity of all. The chance to level up, to become the best version of yourself, and to build a life so incredible that his absence becomes completely irrelevant. The biggest mistake women make in situations like this is thinking that their value has decreased because someone failed to choose them. But that's not how value works. A diamond remains a diamond whether someone recognizes it or not. The right person will always know your worth, and the wrong person will always take it for granted. You don't prove your value by chasing, begging, or trying to convince someone to see what they fail to appreciate. You prove your value by moving forward, by thriving, by refusing to settle for anyone who treats you as an option. What most men don't realize when they leave is that they are giving you the gift of clarity. They are showing you in the most undeniable way that they were never truly for you, and that's a blessing. Because the last thing you need is someone in your life who doesn't recognize your worth. You don't need a man who is unsure, who is looking for something else, who believes the grass is greener on the other side. Let him go and let him find out the hard way that the grass isn't greener. It's just different. And different doesn't always mean better. The moment you stop focusing on him and start focusing on yourself, everything shifts. You no longer sit around waiting for closure because you realize that closure is something you give yourself. You no longer seek validation from someone who is blind to your worth. Instead, you validate yourself by becoming stronger, wiser, and more resilient. You take all that energy you once poured into the relationship and invest it into yourself, your goals, your growth, your happiness. And something incredible happens when you do this. The power dynamic changes. The person who once thought they could leave and return whenever they pleased begins to feel the weight of their decision. Because while they were busy entertaining temporary distractions, you were evolving. You were becoming someone new, someone untouchable, someone so focused on her own greatness that their absence became nothing more than a minor inconvenience. That's when regret kicks in. That's when reality starts to sink in for them. Because the moment a man realizes that you are not waiting for him, that you are not sitting around hoping for his return, that's the moment he starts to question his decision. He may have thought that moving on would be easy. He may have believed that he made the right choice, but time has a way of revealing the truth, and sooner or later he'll realize that what he left behind was something rare, something he won't easily find again. And sometimes it can cause John or Skeeter or even not, sometimes even Bill, but by then it's too late. By then you've moved on to bigger and better things. By then you've built a life so incredible that entertaining the past feels like a step backward. And that's the ultimate win. Not proving him wrong, not making him regret, but reaching a point where his presence or absence no longer affects your happiness. So let him go. Let him believe he made the right choice. Let him experience whatever he thinks he's looking for. Because at the end of the day, his decisions do not define you. Your strength, your confidence, and your ability to rise above do. And when you fully embrace this mindset, you'll understand that losing him wasn't a loss at all. It was a redirection towards something far greater.